Hey guys, don't have much to say. I'll just show you guys the chart. You guys can go back on all my videos. I've talked about this one. I've pounded the table on this one for a long time. Um, Everything started from the accumulation that came back here in September all the way through December, similar to MU, right? Talked about all this, similar to LRCX. You guys saw this. All had the same exact terminal shakeout or spring underneath the consolidated low, right, to shake out any uninformed traders, right, gain any excess liquidity on buy stops that were rated. You guys know how much this one meant to me with MU and how painful this was. To see it, reclaim and test back above 83.94 and reclaim the old accumulation low. The LPS here, the creek jump. Yes, I caught parts of this, but you guys, kind of know how big I was in this range here. To get swept out like that was one of the most disheartening trades. Obviously, the other one was QQQ when I longed, essentially the April 7th bottom, and I added the 618 here. I told you guys time and time again I had well over 200 contracts to get shaken out on the 22nd, just like kind of reading headlines between Bessent and Trump. And then I missed the entire rally, which would have been 1.5 million. Yeah, it sticks with me almost every day. Same with MU. So when I saw, QCOM doing the same exact thing, right, to a T, even a longer consolidation. So I figured this one would be much larger and move than the prior two. Same thing. April terminal shakeout. Finally reclaimed the 150, the accumulative base low as a test, right? It took a lot longer too, with multiple shakeouts even under this, right? Look, we had this like gap down from earnings, consolidated under, and then ripped higher, and really all it was a major higher low on the weekly, right? Like right around here. Started to build out this trend line, as you guys can see. It's subjective. It wasn't perfect, and then from everything, right? I mean, I told you guys this was going to be a hard one. We were looking for not only the reclaim of 150.66, which is that cumulative low base, right, which is 150.66, but then it formed a progression gap, and this was the basis of the trade. As you guys remember, I started it like right around 153 and was kind of like risking 150.66. For this trade to consolidate in here like this and get real mixy or real dicey was a journey. To have it rip all the way up, all the way to 173 and to be green on the trade, and then for it to pull all the way back down, almost shake me out. I remember this was a really tough day to swallow here on October 10th. That was obviously leading into the OPEX. Had to have a lot of faith in Vana and Charm and in the market kind of turning tide and seeing productive flows carry this back up. This was a hard pill to swallow because, like I said, it basically lost all its progress back down to 153. But for it to not break 156 or 150.66 was so crucial. And then obviously slow grind up. You guys saw it based this little gap here, which wasn't super meaningful, but it was good progress on the chart. We had a higher volume break through this like 165, 164 zone, and then it kept getting a weird bid. I kept talking about it like this was a slow mover, but every day was closing higher than the previous day. We were getting bar by bar higher lows. When there was relative weakness in the market across all tech names, this was having like a strong bid and maintaining green moves prior to the previous close. And then eventually, right, I mean, we get rewarded, and I have no words, guys. This is one of the craziest moves I've been a part of in an intraday trade. I mean, the daily literally ripped from 168 and went all the way to fill the gap here from 193 to 189, and then almost fill the 209 gap. And that is still not done. I think this can go higher. But yeah, I locked in a lot of profits, guys. This did, if you guys go back and take a look on the 15-minute, this virtually did this in 30 minutes. It was from the low to the high. It was about a 20% move in 30 minutes. Absolutely absurd. I still think, and I put it in the Discord, I'll be open with it. I don't think the move's done. If you guys go and look at LRCX and MU, they've all done the same exact thing, where they've ripped above the creek, right, which is this top resistance here, which is essentially our cumulative high. They've ripped through, not all in the same fashion where they've almost gone through all targets, but they've all broken through. They've pulled back and they've based the top of the creek, which in my opinion is 181, and then they've had massive rallies off of that spot as well to fulfill, their respective targets. And I do think this one's a little bit sketchy how it didn't fill the 209 gap, or right the gap that's even a little bit higher up into 212. You guys go take a look at this on the hourly. This looks like, a massive breakout, a divergence, and a pullback to retest the creek. I wish it would have held like 189 to 193. That would have been nice to see it hold that gap fill, which is like kind of our secondary fill. But this chart still looks really good. But yeah, just honestly, kind of like a record day for me. You guys saw it in the chat how I was freaking out. That one meant a lot to me. That's part of the reason I told you guys I was really quiet in chat, because it's hard to lock in on a chart or two, especially something as that requires as much conviction as that. If you guys know, like the lore behind MU, I had a lot of people talking shit to me, with MU, saying it was going down to 40, that I'm an idiot, that the trade was tech and NVDA, but I was, so adamant and pounding the table that everyone rushed to California for gold without bringing shovels first. They needed storage, right? And they needed to kind of invest in some of these data centers and the manufacturing side of things and distributors. And storage was going to be a big play. And the fact that I got shaken out and believed a lot of the noise and people that were talking shit, this one really stung. And with QCOM, I wasn't going to let that happen again. And to see something like that happen in 30 minutes and be rewarded like that was honestly insane. So really record day for me. Not only from this chart, I had shares, I had, obviously I had the options into the January, I think there were 185 calls, but also to be rewarded on NVDA, right? I was telling you guys on NVDA, like this was not going lower than 180. Every single time it breached under 180, it really just came down to this 178 gap fill. It got soaked off of that level every time and then pushed back above and virtually closed back above 180 every time. So, even some high volume attempts, but really no result is kind of the key behind this that you need to learn. And we all should know failed breakdowns result in the biggest moves to the upside, and fake breakouts to the upside that don't result in meaningful higher highs that are sustained result in some of the biggest moves to the downside, right? On Friday we got the breach of the gap here at like 186. You guys know, and I'm still kind of bearish on Qs. I was expecting a beginning week gap down. Instead, I think it's just forming out in a 3 higher high into tech earnings, and I still think Q sells. But I was expecting, beginning of the week gap down, retest 184, and then a rip to like 188. And I was rewarded handsomely as well. I mean, I had the 185 calls, and then I had the 195 calls that I was kind of stacked into. And to have this gap above 188, pull back and test 188, and then continue up to 195, I was paid very nicely today. That's all I'll say. So yeah, just wanted to post this really quickly. Pat on the back if you guys took QCOM with me. I know a lot of people were in it with me. A lot of people had faith into me within the video. I did take a loser today on Tesla. Tesla's a little bit weird. If we just take a look at this, I'll add these like as red lines because my color is all off right here. But just the last little update here. Just seeing like a rounding top, right? This kind of looks like a rounding top. This looks like what would be like kind of like a lower high push, right, as a LPSY, or just just a general lower high against this gap fill here, right? That's kind of why I said like 450 was my risk. Obviously, I took Friday's expiration maybe a little bit too early, as I expected a Monday, Tuesday float up. But to see this candle close underneath 454 was a little bit productive. I'm not opposed to taking this again. I still think Tesla can come right back down to this gap fill here, right? So at like 432, 433 as a target for the trade. Just need to see how it reacts off 459 to 454. And I think Tesla comes down, but really I think Qs is really just kind of like like I said, a 1 hour distribution was how I was seeing it. I don't want to shy away from that. With buy climax up thrust, and I really think that we're going to get 2 to 3 days of floating higher, right? A 2 to 3 higher high, right, distribution as coming in the form of a UTAD, breakaway gaps, as I said with MU that I was looking at today, AMD, looking at that kind of like parabolic top, but we're really just getting it on the indexes, right, or the indices. I think that this could be, whether it's an FOMC sell or all the tech end up selling, I really think that that could be a really interesting catalyst for this. I saw something as well, taking a look at like this spot here, right? Nancy Pelosi, insider trade alert. Not a crazy amount that she's dumping, but her first insider trade since June. We should all kind of know her track record. She ended up selling this October 22nd. She was selling her Apple shares, right? So just really weird coincidence, like kind of going into this spot here where we're making a new all-time high. We're going right into earnings. I think that Apple could sell back to 252 from earnings, and if that ends up selling, I think we could see maybe a market-wide panic and distribution of all the tech names, and pair that with Meta missing, Google missing, Microsoft missing, and I think Amazon reports as well. We could have parabolic top on QQQ and SPY, and obviously the broad market, Tesla would be included in that, would sell off. So still kind of remain with my bearish thoughts, if you will. I still have the 2 contracts on QQQ. I'm down 60%. I don't really mind adding into that. I can get those pretty close to current cost. If I just take like a 10 contract ad, and those would be pretty cheap at this point, and I have a lot of money to be working with on this as well. But yeah, guys, just wanted to make it a quick video. Congratulations on QCOM. Honestly, kind of not life-changing, but for some people that was life-changing, but just a huge reward that paid off in 30 minutes. And my God, that was really special to be a part of. And then obviously NVDA. Once again, apologies for the Tesla loss. That's my first loss in quite some time, actually. So I'm pretty proud of that. I closed it like 27% red. But it is what it is. I mean, QCOM made up for that really nicely. NVIDIA made up for that nicely. So just trying not to stray away from the idea of what could happen on Qs and Tesla. Just kind of waiting for that, last final gap up day. I would like to see this gap up open even a little bit higher, maybe into like 630, and just see if we can get a parabolic top that's kind of tied into that 1 hour UTAD, and then a big move down to not only the NWOG, right, where the NWOG would be here at like 617. That's the new week opening gap. But also look for a breach underneath to start it, 624, right? So that's the open. So this really could start up here. We get a lot of confirmation on a break under 624, the NWOG open, and then look for a move down into 617, lower high, and then ultimately a fill down into like that 610 spot. We'd have a pretty gross chart, and then off of that, like I said, kind of pivoting into ETHA, potentially Tesla for like the longs towards the end of the year. And that's really all I'm kind of looking at. But yeah, just wanted to have it a quick video. Congratulate everybody. Thanks for sticking with me. That was the reason I was quiet, and yeah, don't want to get emotional, but that was very special to be a part of. So thank you guys for sticking with me. Thanks for trusting me. I mean, it's a proven system. Wyckoff's everything, guys. It really is. And once you kind of learn the basic fundamentals of it, and you start learning to trust your trades and losing your way on your trades and winning your way on your trades, building that trust is everything in your system. So that's going to be it, guys. Just a little quick video. Once again, appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys next time.